The maid at the Dubai hotel unlocks room 230. A man lies peacefully on the bed. A bottle of medicine stands on the nightstand. The door is chained from the inside. The police assume natural death, but the surveillance camera suddenly reveals something unbelievable. More than 600 hours of footage, where 27 operatives pursue one man through luxurious hotels, posing as tennis players, tourists, and businessmen. They infiltrated a locked room without damaging anything, ended his life without leaving traces, and vanished across 3 continents, using passports stolen from innocent citizens. This is 2010, and the world will soon witness the most documented assassination in history. Such a brazen operation was captured on film, yet it officially remains unsolved. This is Operation Plasma Screen. Mossad turned a 5-star hotel into an execution site right in front of the cameras. The Emirates plane landed at Dubai International Airport at 2:30 p.m. Mahmoud Al-Mabhouh collected his single piece of carry-on luggage and passed through customs with the ease of an experienced traveler. His passport listed him as a merchant. The immigration officer stamped it without questions. Outside, the afternoon sun scorched the asphalt, still radiating midday heat. Mahmoud got into a taxi and gave the driver the address. Al Bustan Ratana Hotel. What he couldn't see were the eyes already watching him. At gate 17, a woman in sunglasses observed as he passed. Near the baggage carousel, a man pretending to read a newspaper noted the time. In the parking lot, another operative relayed a short message over an encrypted phone. Plasma Screen has arrived. Mahmoud Al-Mabhouh wasn't his real name, though he had used it for years. Born in the Jabalia refugee camp in the Gaza Strip in 1960, he grew from a teenager pumping iron in makeshift gyms into one of Hamas's most valuable assets. His specialty was logistics, the silent architecture of war. He didn't assemble bombs or fire rockets. Instead, he orchestrated networks that delivered Iranian weapons to Gaza via Sudan, Egypt, and a labyrinth of tunnels under Rafah. He was the man who supplied Hamas fighters with missiles when they needed them, anti-tank rounds during Israeli armored advances, and money when operations required funding. Israeli intelligence had tracked him for 2 decades. His dossier at Mossad headquarters in Tel Aviv was filled with surveillance photos, intercepted messages, and financial audits tracing millions of dollars flowing through his accounts. He had been on their target list since 1989, when he personally participated in the abduction and execution of 2 Israeli soldiers. One, 21-year-old Avisa Sportas, was snatched at a hitchhiking post, shot 3 times, and buried in a pre-dug grave. The second, Ilan Sadin, was lured into a car by men disguised as Orthodox Jews and killed with a Beretta pistol. Mahmoud posed for photos with both bodies before their burial. For these crimes, for his role in arming Hamas, and for his position as a bridge between Tehran and Gaza, Mahmoud had what Mossad called a red page, an open authorization for elimination. It had no expiration date. It remained active until officially revoked or successfully executed. And on that January day, as he checked into room 230 at the Ratana, that authorization was close to fulfillment. Dubai in 2010 was a city obsessed with security. Lieutenant General Dahi Khalfan Tamim, Dubai's police chief, had convinced the government to install one of the world's most extensive closed-circuit surveillance networks. American-made cameras covered streets, malls, hotels, and airports. Every major intersection, every lobby, every elevator was under watch. The system was designed to prevent and catch criminals, but in reality, it was about to document something far more sophisticated. The operatives knew about the cameras. They had studied Dubai's security infrastructure for months. Yet they proceeded, not out of recklessness, but calculation. The mission timeline was tight. Mahmoud was traveling without bodyguards, a rare vulnerability. His security detail couldn't get seats on his flight and was due to arrive the next day. This narrow window was the only opportunity. Mossad's planners decided speed trumped invisibility. They would move fast, execute precisely, and vanish before Dubai police realized what had happened. The first operatives arrived on January 18th, a day before Mahmoud. At exactly 6:45 a.m., airport cameras captured 2 men traveling under the names Michael Bodenheimer and James Leonard Clark. They had European passports and cleared immigration without incident. By noon, 2 more landed from Paris. Gail Folliard and Kevin Daver, Irish citizens according to their documents. They checked into separate hotels, established covers as tourists, and awaited instructions. Peter Ealinger arrived at 2:29 a.m. that day, just hours before Mahmoud's flight. Authorities later deemed his luggage suspicious, though they didn't specify why. Ealinger was believed to be the field commander, the operational brain coordinating movements. Surveillance footage showed him exiting the terminal, re-entering briefly to meet another operative, then taking a taxi to his hotel. Every action appeared mundane. Nothing hinted at the military precision choreographing beneath the surface. By the time Mahmoud landed that afternoon, 11 operatives were already positioned across Dubai. Some waited in hotel lobbies, others sat in rental cars. A few wandered malls, blending with crowds of tourists and expats filling the city. They communicated via encrypted phones routed through numbers in Vienna, Austria, a deliberate misdirection to mask the operation's true command center. Mahmoud arrived at the Ratana at 3:20 p.m. He crossed the lobby with calm confidence, a man accustomed to traveling in hostile environments. He requested a room without a balcony with sealed windows and only one entrance, a standard precaution for someone aware of threats. The hotel staff accommodated him without question, assigning room 230 on the second floor. Before heading upstairs, Mahmoud deposited cash and documents in the hotel safe. Then he rode the elevator up, accompanied by 2 men dressed in tennis outfits, carrying rackets. They stood close enough to note his floor, room number, and exact door location. Mahmoud didn't react to their presence. Tennis players were common in luxury hotels. He had no reason to suspect them. 2 lookouts, later identified by their blue and white shirts, spent the next hour pacing the second-floor hallway. One stood near the elevator, making calls on what appeared to be a secure device. The other walked back and forth, noting who entered and exited rooms. They scouted the terrain, confirmed security schedules, and identified the room directly across from Mahmoud's, room 237. At 3:47 p.m., a woman named Gail arrived at the Fairmont Hotel a few miles away. Investigators believe that's where the final briefing occurred. The kill team gathered in a conference room, reviewed the plan one last time, synchronized watches, and confirmed contingencies. At 4:14 p.m., Kevin Daver left the Fairmont and headed toward the Ratana. 2 minutes later, Gail followed. The machinery was in motion. Peter Ealinger, the field commander, booked room 237 from a nearby hotel's business lounge. He made 2 phone calls from there, one to arrange the room, another to book his own flight out of Dubai via Doha to Zurich. Then he left the lounge and arrived at the Ratana at 4:23 p.m. He checked in officially, received an electronic key, and handed it to Kevin in the lobby. He then placed a suitcase next to Kevin and exited the hotel. By 4:40 p.m., Ealinger was en route to the airport. He was scheduled to board a 7:30 p.m. flight and depart before the operation concluded. Kevin and Gail entered room 237 at 4:44 p.m. and 5:06 p.m., respectively. Over the next hour, 2 more operatives joined them, one apparently in a wig for disguise. Surveillance cameras captured Gail exiting at 6:21 p.m., carrying several bags to the parking lot where other team members waited. She returned minutes later. The room now held the operational core: Kevin, Gail, and 4 designated executors. At 6:32 p.m., the 4-man kill team entered the Ratana. 2 wore baseball caps, 1 white, 1 dark. The others were in casual shirts, 1 green, 1 blue. They carried a black backpack and a black and white sports bag. Cameras showed them ascending to the second floor and entering room 237. Inside that room, the team would wait for the precise moment to strike. Mahmoud briefly left the hotel at 4:23 p.m. for reasons that were never fully clarified. Some reports suggest he met a banker and an Iranian Revolutionary Guard contact at a nearby mall. Others claim he simply went shopping. What is certain is that he returned at 8:04 p.m., passed Gail in the hallway, who smiled and talked on her phone, and entered his room. His key worked normally. The door showed no signs of tampering. He had no reason to suspect anything amiss. At exactly 8 p.m., the kill team attempted access to his room. The hotel's electronic lock system recorded an unsuccessful reprogramming attempt with an unregistered key. They tried hacking the door, recoding it to grant entry without disabling Mahmoud's key. The technology was sophisticated, likely rehearsed on similar locks during training. But at that moment, a hotel guest exited the elevator. Kevin intercepted the guest, engaging him in conversation while the team either retreated or slipped inside unnoticed. Surveillance cameras angled away from the door failed to capture the exact entry method. What happened inside room 230 remains partially unknown. No audio was recorded. No witnesses survived to describe the sequence. But forensic evidence revealed the operation's brutal efficiency. First, Mahmoud was immobilized with succinylcholine chloride, a fast-acting muscle relaxant injected into his right thigh. The drug induces paralysis within 60 seconds, leaving the victim conscious, unable to move, unable to scream, fully aware of what's happening. Higher doses shut down respiratory function, leading to asphyxiation death. The team also used a stun gun. Burn marks were found on Mahmoud's chest, behind his ear, and on his inner thigh. The shocks were likely intended to simulate a heart attack, making the death appear natural. But the final method was suffocation. A pillow stained with his blood was discovered. He bled from the nose as he struggled. Broken slats under the mattress and damage to the headboard indicated fierce resistance. Mahmoud al-Mabhouh, the man called the Fox for his ability to sense danger, fought his assassins in silence while Kevin and Gail stood guard outside, ensuring no interruptions. The entire execution took 20 minutes. By 8:46 p.m., the first two team members exited the hotel, carrying the large sports bag believed to contain the murder tools. One left behind a latex glove. All four rode the elevator together but exited separately to avoid attention. At 8:47 p.m., Gail left, still talking on her phone. Kevin followed at 8:51 p.m. The male and female lookouts, stationed in the lobby since earlier that evening, departed at 8:52 p.m. They scattered into the Dubai night, catching taxis in pairs to the airport. Within 12 hours, they dispersed across Europe, Africa, and Asia, using fake passports and stolen identities. Mahmoud lay dead in his locked room. The door was chained from the inside. A forged medicine bottle was placed on the nightstand to suggest an overdose. The scene was staged to look like a natural death in sleep. It took investigators 10 days to uncover the truth. Mahmoud's wife tried calling him that night. The phone rang unanswered. Hamas headquarters in Damascus grew concerned when he failed to check in. On January 20th, around 1:30 p.m., a hotel maid discovered his body. He had missed checkout and staff went to check. What they found was a man lying peacefully on the bed. No visible wounds, no signs of struggle, except the broken bed frame hidden under the mattress. Initial reports leaned toward natural causes. Sudden hypertension causing a brain malfunction, overdose, heart failure. Only after Dr. Fawzi Benamran performed the autopsy did the puzzle pieces align. The injection site, electrical burns, traces of succinylcholine still detectable in his tissues. Blood on the pillow, bruises on his nose, neck, and head. The official death certificate eventually listed cerebral hemorrhage caused by electric shock from a powerful blow to the head. Dubai police initially didn't know who the victim was. Mahmoud traveled under an alias, though Hamas later insisted he used his real name and passport. The confusion slowed the investigation, but when Hamas finally revealed his identity, Lieutenant General Tamim exploded in rage. "Take yourselves, your bank accounts, your weapons, your fake passports, and get out of my country," he reportedly shouted at Hamas representatives. His anger wasn't just over the breach of Emirati sovereignty. It was personal. His office was minutes from the Ratana. The murder happened practically under his nose. Tamim ordered his investigators to pull every frame of surveillance from the airport, hotels, malls, and streets. What emerged was a stunning chronology. 648 hours of video documenting 27 suspects moving through Dubai like ghosts. The footage showed operatives changing disguises in bathrooms, making encrypted calls, tailing Mahmoud through lobbies and hallways, coordinating with military precision. On February 15th, Dubai police held a press conference and released edited video, urging the public to help identify the perpetrators. The tape went viral. News outlets worldwide broadcast images of the tennis players, the woman in sunglasses, men in baseball caps. Intelligence analysts pored over the video frame by frame, marveling at the operation's audacity and its exposure. The scandal centered on the passports. 11 suspects used meticulously forged documents based on stolen identities of real citizens living in Israel. 6 British, 3 Irish, 1 French, 1 German. The passport holders were real people, dual citizens, descendants of Holocaust survivors, ordinary civilians unaware their identities were compromised. 1 British passport belonged to an Israeli soldier killed in the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Another linked to a man who hadn't left Israel in 30 years. Ireland's foreign ministry stated the Irish passports were never officially issued. The ID numbers were real, but photos and signatures were faked. France traced 4 fake passports, including Peter Ehlinger's. Germany linked Michael Bodenheimer's to a man claiming citizenship by descent from a Holocaust survivor, a false claim that provided cover for the forgery. Diplomatic fallout was immediate. Britain expelled a high-ranking Israeli diplomat believed to be Mossad's local coordinator. Condemnations echoed across Europe. Yet those familiar with intelligence operations acknowledged these gestures were mostly symbolic. Expelling embassy staff signals disapproval, but the seniority of the expelled official indicates the protest's gravity. Beyond that, little could be done. Evidence was circumstantial. No one was caught, and the victim was a high-ranking member of a group designated as terrorist by most Western nations. Lieutenant General Tamim publicly stated authorities were 99%, if not 100%, certain Mossad conducted the operation. He demanded the arrest of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Mossad Director Meir Dagon. These statements made headlines but held no legal weight. Israel maintained its policy of neither confirming nor denying responsibility. Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman dismissed accusations as speculation, suggesting perhaps the press had watched too many James Bond films. The operatives belonged to Mossad's elite Qaidan unit, an organization existing in the space between legend and classified files. Qaidan recruits primarily from Israeli special forces. Sayeret Matkal, Shayatet 13, former commandos trained in close-quarters combat, surveillance, and deep infiltration. They live under assumed names in apartments across Europe and the Middle East. Their neighbors don't know who they are. Their families sometimes don't know where they work. Failure is not an option. Success is measured in silence. Mike Harari, a former Qaidan commander, once described the unit's philosophy. "We don't apologize for what we do. We do what's necessary to protect our people. Operations are sanctioned at the highest levels. A red page, kill authorization, requires joint approval from the Prime Minister and Defense Minister. It's not a direct order for immediate action. It's an open permit, valid indefinitely until revoked or executed." Mahmoud al-Mabhouh carried a red page since 1989. Qaidan operatives train at secret facilities where only their spouses have limited access. Their real names are never disclosed, even in private conversation. They rarely interact with other Mossad units and usually avoid the organization's main headquarters in northern Tel Aviv. When deployed, they operate alone or in small teams, relying on local assets. Syanim, volunteer helpers embedded in Jewish communities worldwide who provide logistical support without knowing the full operation scope. The Dubai mission was years in the making. Intelligence sources later reported Qaidan members visited Dubai 5 times in the 9 months preceding the assassination. They came in February, March, and June 2009, conducting reconnaissance, mapping security systems, testing entry and exit routes. Their goal was verification, confirming beyond doubt that the target was Mahmoud al-Mabhouh, not someone using his name. The Lilyhammer affair haunted every operation. In 1973, Mossad operatives tracked Ali Hassan Salameh, the Black September leader responsible for the Munich Olympics massacre, to the Norwegian town of Lillehammer. Acting on faulty intel, they shot Ahmed Bachiki, a Moroccan waiter and amateur musician with no ties to terrorism. The agents were arrested, imprisoned, and Israel was forced to pay substantial compensation to Bachiki's family. The humiliation was profound. Since then, Mossad protocol demanded rigorous identity verification before any lethal action. The Dubai operation achieved its primary objective. Mahmoud al-Mabhouh was eliminated. Hamas lost a critical logistics coordinator. Weapons smuggling networks were disrupted. Iran's direct pipeline to Gaza suffered a major blow. But the exposure of the operation's methods created unintended consequences. Mossad's relations with Western intelligence agencies soured sharply. Using forged European passports angered allies who had previously tolerated Israeli operations as long as they remained deniable. Britain and France voiced the strongest protests, viewing the passport scandal as deliberate provocation. France was particularly concerned that Hamas might interpret the fake French passports as evidence of French complicity, potentially stirring tensions among France's large Muslim population. In June 2010, Mossad's Qaidan unit chief, once considered a possible successor to Director Meir Dagan, offered his resignation. It was not accepted, signaling Dagan took full responsibility for the failure. Reports suggested France sent 2 agents to meet Dagan personally and express disapproval. The message was clear. A line had been unacceptably crossed. Yet in Israel, the operation was viewed differently. Though never officially acknowledged, the successful elimination of a high-priority target demonstrated Mossad's global reach and operational capability. It reinforced the perception that Israel's intelligence services could strike anywhere, anytime, against anyone deemed a threat. The message wasn't lost on Hamas, Hezbollah, or Iran. No protection was absolute, no place truly safe. Interpol added photos of the 11 suspects to its most wanted list. Dubai police discovered airport staff had performed retinal scans on the same 11 upon entry. Investigators recovered DNA from 4 operatives and fingerprints from several more. Biometric data was entered into international databases. Yet no arrests followed. The operatives vanished into the networks that created them, likely sidelined to desk duty temporarily, then redeployed on new missions under new identities. In December 2010, a mysterious case added another layer to the story. Ben Zygir, an Australian-Israeli dual citizen and alleged Mossad operative, was found dead in his cell inside Israel's most secure prison, Ayalon facility. His case was so secret that guards knew him only as Prisoner X, never his real identity. He was discovered in a supposedly suicide-proof cell, just 2 days after consulting prominent Israeli criminal lawyer Avigdor Feldman. Unverified reports later suggested Zygir was involved in the Dubai operation but betrayed the agency by leaking intelligence to Dubai police. Some sources claimed he revealed the kill team's names in exchange for protection. Authorities allegedly then abducted him, returned him to Israel, and isolated him in Ayalon's Block 15. These claims were never independently verified. Zygir's death was officially ruled a suicide, though questions linger about how a high-security inmate could end his life in a cell designed to prevent exactly that. What makes Operation Plasma Screen significant is not just the assassination, but that it was caught on camera. For the first time, the world saw a modern intelligence agency's targeted killing in forensic detail. The 648 hours of footage became a case study in operational craft. Intelligence agencies worldwide analyzed the video, noting both successes and failures. Successes were evident. Rapid deployment, precise coordination, effective use of disguises and forged documents, clean execution without collateral damage, and escape before local authorities realized what occurred. Failures were equally clear. Overconfidence in the face of surveillance, inadequate attention to biometric data collection at airports, reliance on traceable stolen identities, and underestimation of Dubai police capabilities. Yet even with all the evidence, no one was ever held accountable. The suspects' real names remain officially unknown. Israel never confirmed Mossad's involvement. Dubai issued arrest warrants that will never be served. Interpol filed red notices that will never lead to detention. The operatives who entered room 230 and ended Mahmoud al-Mabhouh's life vanished into the same shadows from which they emerged, protected by an impenetrable wall of state secrecy. In the years that followed, new figures replaced Mahmoud. Abdulaziz al-Rantizi, his successor, was arrested in the UAE in 2011 on suspicion of laundering funds linked to Hamas. The networks Mahmoud built continued to function, albeit disrupted. Iran found new intermediaries. Hamas adapted its logistics chains. The cycle of violence persisted. Each death fueled the next round of retaliation. Operation Plasma Screen stands as a monument to both the capabilities and limitations of modern intelligence warfare. It demonstrated that with sufficient resources, planning, and willingness to accept diplomatic fallout, a state can eliminate its enemies anywhere on the planet. But it also showed that in an era of ubiquitous surveillance and digital forensics, true invisibility is no longer possible. Ghosts can still kill, but they can no longer do so without casting shadows on camera. The hotel cameras stopped recording. The operatives disappeared into airports and train stations across 3 continents. Mahmoud al-Mabhouh's body was returned to Damascus and buried in Yarmouk, where he remains a martyr to many. Dubai police closed the case without arrests. Mossad added another file to its classified archives. And somewhere in Tel Aviv, planners began dissecting the mistakes, refining methods, preparing for the next red page to be executed. What Operation Plasma Screen revealed is uncomfortable for those who prefer to believe the world operates by law, not force. It showed that beneath the veneer of international norms and diplomatic protocols lies a parallel system where certain states grant themselves the right to eliminate threats through violence, wrapped in bureaucratic language and executed with surgical precision. The cameras captured the method. They didn't capture the faces behind the masks, the names behind the pseudonyms, or the offices where such decisions are made with signatures instead of triggers. If this story chilled you as much as it did us, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss when we pull back the curtain on history's most secretive operations. Give it a like if you appreciate the research that goes into these deep dives. And here's a question for the comments. Do you think operations like Plasma Screen make nations safer? Or do they just perpetuate cycles of violence that never end? We're curious about your thoughts. See you in the next episode.